I'm Shalina Tobin, aka Posh Nosh Gal, and today I'm joined by one of the most versatile chefs in the business, Sanjay Dwivedi. Born in London, Sanjay has worked in an incredible array of high-end restaurants where he has excelled at multiple cuisines, including Indian, Japanese, French, and Italian. Over recent years, he's been merging all his skills to create stunning Peruvian cuisine at the fabulous Coya restaurant, where he's chef and culinary director. Hi, Sanjay. How are you doing?
Very good, amazing.
So I know you were born in London, raised in Delhi in India.
Yeah.
Paint a little picture for us about your life in India and your first interests in food.
Yes, I can see it. So I was 5 years old, and my dad decided that he wants to go back to India.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 9 years old, there's an area which is on the other side of Goa, on the right opposite side of Goa, on the eastern side, called Visakhapatnam, which is called Vizag.
Okay.
And my uncle owned a hotel there called the Sun and Sea Hotel,
Okay.
and it's on a beach. Uh, and I was 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And obviously, being the son of the owner, or as we know in India, everybody's the son.
Yeah.
There was a chef who made this chicken on popia, and I was in the kitchen. He made it. I saw him making it, and then he opened this bag, and all the aroma and the smell which came, as like I was like gobsmacked to see what this person has done. And I suppose that was a seed which was planted then. And then again, like everybody says, uh, like I hate to admit it, like my mom was never a great cook at home. We always had helpers, so she was never the best of the best.
Right.
Uh, though she made few things, like she made me a BLT sandwich, bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. Like we had the bacon, and I was like, wow, what's this? What's this? And then I used to experiment with food when I was like about 13, 14. Whatever was left over, I used to just play with the spices, and I wanted to cook myself. I wanted to be in the kitchen myself. And then I took a challenge, how to cook, how to make omelets. And this is a very good story because I used to separate the eggs with the egg whites. We had a little oven, so I used to make my egg mix, and I used to put it in a pan. I used to cook it in the oven as well, and it became a thing which till this day happens. Now we have a very large extended family, as we all have in India. Everybody's everybody. Like everybody's a brother and everybody's a sister.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And till this day, I have to make omelets for everybody on a Sunday. It happens. And they could be up to 45 people. And I'm not kidding
Wow.
you. Yeah. And they are like, I'm making one after another, one after another. And you know what it's like being in the, somebody's made something, it just goes out of proportion. Oh my God, it tastes so good and everything. Obviously, the number is reduced now. It's not 45, it's reduced now because everybody's getting old. And in the good old days, you could have 3, 4 eggs, and now everybody wants to have one egg.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was it. And then
In the early days, when you set yourself that challenge, you did not know it was going to be a lifelong challenge, did you?
Exactly, yeah, I know. It's like, and everybody asks me the same thing, same question. How do you make it every year? What's your recipe, blah, blah. And I'll tell them, keep the pan hot, cook all your onions before, cook everything before, and then it just takes 1 minute. That's it.
Mm.
And then, uh, I came back to England when I was 18, 19. I did my A levels here, and I didn't do very well at all, actually. And
So can I just
but
take you back a second?
yeah,
What was it that made you think that you wanted to come back to the UK? Because you were very young when you left.
yes. So what happened was everybody in those good old days, I wanted to leave India. I wanted to leave my parents.
Why?
because always is, you have to be a doctor, or you have to be an engineer, or you have to be a lawyer, you
Okay.
know.
Yep. I know that
And
story.
everything is education, education, education. And I'm not about education.
Okay.
Um, I was very wild as a kid. Uh, and the more pressure I was put by my parents, the less and less I was doing.
Okay. Understood.
And then I got an opportunity to come over here because my brother was here. So he said, "Why don't you come over here?" So I did. Without a think, I remember like I could not wait to get out of there. Like everybody was shedding tears. I was the only one who was not shedding tears. I was like, "Yeah, I'm out of it," you know. And then I did my A levels. Didn't do very well. Went out, and while I was there, I was cooking a lot at home as well.
Hmm.
I remember going to one of the pizza places, and I remember having anchovies for the first time. And I'm 19 years old. I mean, now things have changed. Everybody, my kids, they don't like anchovies, but they know what anchovy is.
Yeah.
And wow, what the hell is this? You know? And I think that's where it all started from, like the inquisitiveness. You know, I wanted to know what it is, what it is, what it is.
Yeah.
And then because I didn't do very well, I applied myself to do a hotel management and catering in next to Windsor.
Hmm.
That was the only obvious choice because that was the only thing which was available. And because I did not go to a chefing school, I was still studying. So everybody was quite kind of happy. And then with that, when I was doing that year, I had 1 year of work experience, and I worked at the Holiday Inn next to Heathrow. And where I went to the coffee shop, I went to worked as a bellboy, I worked as a receptionist, blah blah, and everything. And then I kept on saying, I want to work in the kitchen. I want to work in the kitchen. And I was given the opportunity to work in the kitchen. The chef name was David Miller. I mean, I can't remember people. I can see his face, and he took me under his wings, kind of. You know, he because of the questions I was asking and everything.
Yeah.
And then I was made in charge of the sandwich section of Holiday Inn. And I felt like I am the boss, kind of, you know, I felt so good. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like I've done work, but all of a sudden I've been recognized. And
Yeah.
from there, then they put me into the restaurant. And where I started working in the restaurant. And I remember the whole range, the heat. I was very nervous. And and then from there the bug was there, and I was just the happiest person you can come across,
Did you get a
to the
chance to
point.
make your special omelets?
Oh, exactly. Well, I wasn't able to do that because I don't want to share that with them at the time,
Secret recipe, is it?
yeah. And then David decided to move to London, and he opened a restaurant called Pygmalion.
Hmm.
And he asked me, why don't you come and work for me? Now I had another year to complete in my for my H&D in hotel management and catering, and I said absolutely. So I'll come over the weekends. So I started going over the weekends, coming all the way from Windsor, traveling to London, in Covent Garden. And it's like the 2 days became three, the 3 days became four, five, and ultimately I don't
So
know
you
who to.
loved it. You
Yeah, I loved it so
love
much,
being in the city as well.
And I was called by the board of the governors of my university, of my college, of my attendance. And I remember this because I was, like I'm young, I'm like 21 years old, 22 years old, and don't care. I went in a suit. I don't know why. And I said to them, listen, I'm not learning anything from you guys. You're not teaching me anything. I'm learning more, and I'm getting paid more
Hmm.
from Pygmalions than you will ever do, which was not the right thing for me to say that to my lecturers, really.
Hmm.
But anyway, we came to an agreement kind of thing, and then I had to attend. And then what happened? So David left.
So
Now,
did you leave your job and then carry on with university, or did
oh
you
no, I did.
manage to
I did.
juggle both
Yeah, yeah,
together?
I did. No, 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 because I think that something was non-negotiable with my parents. Like, you have to finish, And I said, yes, you're right. I should finish. So
Yeah,
I kind of finished.
yeah.
And then from there on, I went to work for Brian Turner. He opened a restaurant just behind Harrods,
Hmm.
which is now was I can't remember what's it called. It's just behind Harrods, big restaurant called Sudwest, and that's where and Sudwest being southwest of cooking of French.
Hmm.
And for me, yes, that was like I don't know what a comfy of duck was in those days, And I was learning so much, so much. Like I didn't take a day off. Started working for Gary Rhodes on my days off because Chef Brian knew Gary very well. So I
Right.
said, "Hey, I'll go and work on my days off."
Yeah.
And I was working 7 days, and I was not working. I was just there 7 days because I was enjoying it so much. And in those days, like you party hard and you play hard as well, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, I just went to different restaurants, and here I am today at Coya. Who would
Well,
have thought?
talking about partying hard, I mean, you also cook for the Rolling Stones,
Oh
right?
yes,
At
yes.
one point, did you ever join in a jamming session with them?
Oh, well, not jamming session. So what it is, Rolling Stones. I did the Bridges to Babylon tour, the European tour, and you have uh, a set of bunch of people who look after the crew, and they are cooking for up to 300 to 400 people, lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Mm.
Because of my experience and everything, the company I was working for, which is called Eat Your Hearts Out, they asked me, would you like to cook for Rolling Stones and the entourage every day? And I said, yeah, of course I would. And so, I mean, there's a lot of stories I can't say, but it was amazing.
Is there
It
one you
really
can
was.
share with us?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, we worked very hard and we played very hard, and it is rock and roll. The guys, a full bunch of guys, are amazing. They really are. Like when you are at that height, like we had a really really good personal relationship, kind of. Okay, chef,
Mm.
we'll be cooking today, blah blah.
Yeah.
Um, to the point, and this is a very interesting story, and I love saying this story. So on the last day, they hosted a kind of a party for all the crew, and we were there till the early hours of the morning. And I was supposed to catch my flight at 10 o'clock. I walked into my room probably at 10 o'clock, that kind of thing. So I missed my flight. There was no flights back home and everything. I knew the security of Rolling Stones very well because I used to always give him a stay, kind of thing. It was a really nice, big English guy. I can't remember his name, but lovely man.
Mm.
And he said, okay, give me your passport and come and see me in the lobby downstairs at certain time. And I said, okay, fine. I had no idea of anything. So to cut long story short, going to the airport, but not going through customs or anything. I'm saying, this is a bit weird. Somebody's taking my luggage away and everything. So I'm flying in the private jet of Rolling Stones back from Stuttgart to London with them in there as well.
Amazing.
And that was the first time when you come across, forget about business class, forget about first class. This is a class of those. No,
It's a
they're
whole
taking
other
the whole
league.
plane,
Yeah.
and the whole plane is like where we have all the economy seats. They're all being pushed out, and there's a big, lovely sofa over there.
Sofa and
Yeah, sitting over there, and I'm saying, "Oh my God, this journey should not stop. It can carry on for as long as it can." So it was good. It was very good.
oh,
Yeah, and it's good because you're surrounded by such energetic people as well. So you
yeah.
bring the energy as well. It's like
Yeah.
they were like 60 in those days. I think they were like about 55, 60 kind of.
Mm.
The guys had so much energy. Charlie was so quiet, so like really focused, didn't say a lot. They didn't show off or anything, you know. They were just like normal people
Yeah.
having spaghetti bolognese sometimes, or having uh, what do you call cottage pie with raw onions, you know. And that was one of the requests. Like, can I have raw onions, please? It's like, no problem. But then again, obviously, when we came to London, when we did the one in Wembley, we had Nobu come in once, one day. So I was working with Nobu, and you know, this is going back So this is only going 20 years ago. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Nobu had just started,
Yeah.
and then I worked with Nobu. I worked with Mark Edwards actually, who was the head chef of Nobu,
Brilliant.
and that's where I came to know about. Oh my God, this fish is burnt, but what is it? And I tried the
But
black
it
cod,
tastes so good. Yeah.
and I was like, my God, you know. So I'm asking all these questions and everything.
Yeah.
And the second day we had, I don't know whether you know, there used to be a really cool Thai restaurant called Blue Elephant on Fulham
Yes.
Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
were there the second time as well on the second day. So it was
Oh,
really,
wow.
really nice. Yeah. So you met a lot of interesting chefs all the way along as well, you know.
I bet. And then picking up, lessons from them as well,
Oh
getting
yeah,
inspired
yeah,
from the way they cook.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you
Yeah.
mentioned your work with Gary Rhodes.
Yeah.
Tell me about that time. How was it working with him?
So yeah, with Chef Gary, I worked on my days off. And the reason I wanted to work for him was him, really. When I went to see him,
Mm,
I just loved the person he was or he is, you know.
mm,
And one of the things which I tasted of all the things you're not going to believe is he made this Welsh rarebit for, you know, with smoke. I still remember that with smoked haddock, and it was. I said, well, how do you do that, you know? And so he took me under his wings. I remember how to make bread and butter pudding with him. And he says the secret is the nutmeg. Not many people know that.
okay.
And then we started doing Taste of London, which we started back in 2010. No, it must be 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
And it so happened that Chef Gary and Zaika at that time, we were next to each other at our stall.
Oh, no way.
And and he loved my food at Zaika. He loved it. And his wife Jenny as well, and his kids as well. And Gary was one of those people you could listen to because he has so many stories to tell you, you know. And
Right.
everybody looks on him as a celebrity, but he's just a normal kind of guy. And we just having a smoke outside. We're just having a chat. We're just talking about life. We're just talking about kids. And it so happened that he requested, or I requested. Actually, he requested. Actually, like I like to be next to Zaika because I like to be next to Zaika because I love their food. So we were always on the same kind of a row. You know, like you have all these different pockets. We
Right.
were on the same row.
Right.
And then the last time I saw Chef was I did. Uh, oh yeah, I went to the Formula One. Well, I'm a big fan of Formula One, and I was in Abu Dhabi. So and behind me, because all my friends within my circle they call me Geezer. I say Geezer. Looking back, and there's Chef Gary and Jenny. You know,
Okay.
we stayed there together. We caught up and everything. And then yeah, it's like it was. I mean, like even now I think about him and everything. I miss his smile. I miss his positivity and the stories he told us, uh, and a very very humble person. I was thinking, I know his anniversary just passed away a year ago, and I
Yeah.
paid my respects. And but yeah, it was the ceremony which they did for his passing away. It was just like I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to. I'm very emotional, and I was like tears rolling
Oh,
down, kind of a thing. And
yeah. Well, of course. I
uh,
mean, he's your friend.
I know exactly, yeah, and a mentor, you know. So at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like when somebody that one and so young goes away, it was very very tough, yeah. But you
Yeah.
know, his legacy lives on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
within you as well.
yeah,
So you mentioned, meeting Zyka at Taste of London. So that's where the relationship began, because
yes,
you had a very long-term role at Zyka, which was
yes,
in Knightsbridge. You were there for
yes,
like 10 years, and
yeah. My God, yeah,
it was a
10 years. Yeah.
massive success. So tell us about that period, and why did you leave?
Okay, so um, so this is now 1998. I just opened a restaurant in Blackheath called Number One Lawn Terrace. I was given shares in it, and it was very, very successful. It was one of the biggest restaurants we've ever opened, or I've ever opened. It was like about 150 cover restaurant in Blackheath, and then we were bought by another company. And for me, because I had shares in the business, I had a lot of money. Give me the money, and I'll take the money. Um, and then I was looking around. What is my next thing? What is it that I want to do next? Because Lawn Terrace was a really, really good success. Uh, and then I was asked to come as a consultant to Zyka by Vineet Bhatia
Hmm.
and Claudia Pulse, the owner of. So I said, and I remember going to see Vineet when he was in Hammersmith, in a horrible, well, not horrible, but like a very run down kind of a restaurant. But the food was like, wow, you know. So I said, okay, I'm going to work for you for 6 months. We open the restaurant, I learn, and then we take it from there. Now, Vineet was very, very strong when it comes to Indian cooking. He was better, or not better, but like he was right up there, His food had this different taste, The Rogan Josh tasted really, really, was not too spicy, but it was still had a lot of flavor, his breads, the whole thing. And so what we decided to do at that time was, why don't we do something like East meets West, you know, and let's use what I have learned over the last X amount of years and use that with Indian food. And so one of the things, because Zyka was in the Eric Chavot's uh, site,
Hmm.
and we inherited a lot of wines. And the general manager at that time was also a sommelier. Now, I don't know anything about wines. I still don't know anything about wines, but I just still like drinking the wines.
I'm on your page.
Yeah. And I asked Vineet and I asked Claudio actually, it's like, why don't we do a tasting menu and we match it with wines? It's never been done before. And
Hmm.
obviously, the initial reaction was no, because that's not what we do in India or in an Indian restaurant. So then me and the general manager, we worked on a sort of a menu and we tasted things afterwards. And we came up with the tasting menu. And that became an instant hit from day one because no one had thought out of the box, because every time you go to an Indian restaurant, you just have beer, you
Hmm.
know, or you have in tea, you know. And then obviously, the more and more we started playing with it, and the more and more, we saw success in it, we started working on it even more and more. And that's where me and Vineet, we worked very well together. I was coming up with all these different ideas of how we can do these things, and why don't we do, like, say, for example, let's do a confit of duck and make a samosas out of that, and we confit the spices, and then make a samosa out of it. And everybody's been using chicken samosas. Or we came up with a ghost cheese and smoked cashew nut samosa with a pear chutney, So things like this,
Very
which have never
creative
been done
thinking.
before.
Yeah.
And then I remember Claudio telling me this when I was coming up to bed. He said, like, listen, you can be very, very successful in opening your own restaurant, which you have, but though you will be cooking like everybody else is, but if you stuck with Indian food, nobody's going to be cooking like you because nobody knows about the Indian food. nobody knows that much about the Western food and how you can marriage together.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this, or we came, I'm not too sure whether it was me or was it Vineet. I can't remember who came up with it. We said we will not do we will not do fusion food because fusion food is confusion.
Right.
Now, what we will do is we will use the techniques of what I've learned from the French, from the Italians, from the Europe, and blend them with Indian food. Because at the end of the day, when you are coming to Zyka or you are coming to an Indian restaurant, you're not coming to a French restaurant, you know, and especially in those days as well, you know. And that's where the seed was like, oh, okay, maybe I can work on it, you know, let me work on it. And then yeah, and then 2001, we were the first Indian restaurant to get a Michelin
The
star.
Michelin star, yeah.
And I remember me and Vineet, we were both in New York, and we got a call from the Michelin, and we were like top of the world.
Exciting times, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember being brash or being cocky, speaking to the Michelin before we got the star. Speaking to Derek, it's like, why is it? And then not to Derek. I don't want to say Derek, but it was someone I spoke with the Michelin. It's like, why is it that you don't look into ethnic restaurants? Which I think is unfair because things have changed. You know, we are doing things differently.
Mm.
And I really believe um, what we are cooking at Zyka right now is very similar to if you go to any Michelin star restaurant. And I think Michelin started to change its strategy then, and that's why that was the same year, if I'm not mistaken. Even Nobu got a Michelin star. So instead of just working on French and Italian or European restaurants, they started going into Asian restaurants.
Right.
And then yeah, and then rest is history really. And then it was great success, and I decided to move because it was time to move on. Um, I've done enough for Indian food,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted a new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like me and my partners, we were like sort of like on the verge of not agreeing with things. And I was there, yeah, 10 years. For a person who wanted to stay there for 6 months, I think 10 years is more than enough. I think I've done my time.
Before we go into Coya, I just wanted to ask you. So, I mean, so you've come into the UK and you've worked for quite a few years now. How did you find it culturally? Because, I mean, we're such a diverse culture now. We have so many different people coming from all over the world, coming to
Yeah,
learn and work. How was it for you? And it was slightly different because you were born here.
yeah,
You went and then
yeah,
you came back.
absolutely. Yeah. At that time, like I said before, like I wanted to be different. I wanted to do something totally different, out of the box. uh, not because of the sake of doing it. It was just the way my perception was and what I was thinking. And walking into a European kitchen and being the only ethnic minority was, uh, shocking. It was hard,
Shocking for you or shocking for others?
and for them as well, because you don't get an Indian person walking into into a restaurant which is 99% is Europeans.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, obviously there was a lot of remarks being passed, a lot of racist remarks in those days,
Okay.
and I remember I was living in Sudbury at that time, Sudbury town, and I had a room, no money because I was just all I wanted to do was to learn. I want to name the restaurant. Um, and I remember coming back after being there for like 3 weeks. Like, a lot of times I was going back home crying, kind of a thing. It's like, why are you being like this? Because it did not even occur to me at that time, all these remarks, like they were racist remarks. Like I just thought that they were just being horrible to me.
Okay.
And then as time went by, kind of a thing, when I started seeing, oh, there's a bad smell here, or overcooking big ton of broccoli, and I had to eat the whole broccoli the whole day because I overcooked it and all that.
Oh, wow.
Or the kitchen, peeling potatoes on top of the hot stove, and uh, yeah. And I remember coming back home. It's like I was saying to myself, looking at myself in the mirror, crying. It's like, okay, I have two options. Either I'm going to tell them to, excuse my French, F off, or I'm just going to go and look for something else.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, you know what? That's the easy bit. Go somewhere else. No, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change my attitude.
Hmm.
And when I came back, every time they were made those comments, I had a smirky smile on my face.
Right.
And that pissed them off even more so.
Okay.
Though at the same time as well as I had to work harder. I was there before the head chef walked in, because in those days, if you did 15 hours, you were lucky. So I was there before and I left after.
Hmm.
And they started seeing like he's getting it, like he can handle a section on his own. Like within 3 months, I was running the larder section, for this French restaurant. And then obviously I was making my own. In those days, I had this obsession of making all these different flavored oils, you know. And at one stage, I wish I had a photograph. Like now, these days, you can take a phone, but it's in my memory. And I remember creating 25 different types of flavored oils: garlic oil, rosemary oil, blah blah.
Wonderful.
Lavender oils, and all of this. And the guys are saying and then I started making stuff meals now and then, and it's like, oh, okay, this guy can cook.
So they stop
And
seeing your color and they start
yeah, and he started
seeing
seeing me as a
your
as a
talent.
chef, as a person. Exactly, yeah. And it happened in the next restaurant as well. But then I was prepared. And at the end of the day, all I knew was roll up your sleeves, work hard. It's not an intelligent job. It's just about working hard, listening, and that's what it is. In
Mm.
those days, chefing now is very different. Now you need to be very intelligent as well. Uh, and then yeah, so it made me stronger really at the end of the day. So that probably, I say to myself, that probably personally was the biggest achievement for me, was to fight, stand by my belief, and saying to the world that I'm better than you. I said to the chef when I left the first restaurant, which
Mm.
was after 1 year, because I only wanted to work in a restaurant for a year because I learned and then I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then we had a party. Uh, they really gave me a nice set of knives and everything. So we left with shaking hands. But I remember 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line, we went out for a drink with all the team afterwards during Christmas time or something. And I got absolutely drunk. Um, I to the point that I opened my mouth and I told everybody in there, do you remember what you did to me? And do you remember what you did to me? And I took this to my heart.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now today, and I'm looking in your eyes, I will be a better chef than all of you put together. Boom. That was it. So, that was me being brash or anything, but I felt good.
But it sounds like that's actually what got you through, your self-belief and confidence in
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
That's what really got you through challenging times. And we have a lot of issues with mental health, and especially in kitchens. They're such
Yeah.
hard environments to work
Mm.
in. And and I think that it's such a big topic. Everyone's talking about it more and more because we're trying to
Yeah.
face these issues and trying to help
They
people
exist.
deal with
Yeah.
them. And as I mentioned earlier, London is such a hub for people coming with multicultural, diverse backgrounds. What kind of advice would you give to people that feel racism in a kitchen, or feel like they're being discriminated for any reason? What sort of advice do you give to them?
I mean, my biggest advice, or the advice which I like to give straight away, is I think you need to uh, speak out and say stop, because at the end of the day, I've learned another thing is people bully people. It's not uh, because you allow them to bully them. You have to stand up for yourself, and you say enough is enough. You go through the right channels as well. And especially now in this day and age, it's easier, the moment somebody makes a remark, you know, uh, you will be heard. And if you're not heard, then get out of there,
Mm,
you know, because that's not the right environment, you
mm,
know. And especially in our industry, we looked at it the other day, like we were talking about it in Dubai. We have 45 different nationalities working in Coya, Dubai, you
wow.
know, and it's so much better now, and it's so much easier now. And thank God for that as well, you know. Uh, and I'm not just saying about Koya. It's like all the restaurants or the friends I know and associated. It's a big topic, you know.
Mm,
And you were saying about mental health. I call it mental fitness. We've always worked all our lives. We've been saying, I've always gone with the fact of a fit body is a fit mind,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think a fit mind, right, is also, it's the other way around, is a fit body.
Oh, I don't
We've
know.
looked
I
at
have
it
a
as
fit mind. I wouldn't say I have a fit body.
no, listen, if anything in lockdown, what I've done, and that's what I try to tell all these younger generation, but they must be thinking, because I go through phases in life, like I'll go vegan for a month, or I'll do this. So this lockdown, I found a new love,
Which is
Bikram yoga.
okay.
So I've been telling them, it's like, because for me, I need some sort of release,
But you've been doing that at home or in a studio?
So while we were open and on and off, when we were open, I was doing it in the studio,
Mm.
and when it's obviously like now, unfortunately,
Yeah,
but
you
at least
can't.
I'm still moving.
Yeah.
I'm doing it on virtually.
Amazing. I did try Bikram yoga. I've got to say, I could not handle the heat.
Love it. Yeah, yeah. I'm still so far from it. I still can't do the 26 poses. I can do two poses perfectly. Shavasana, I love that one. And the breathing exercise, I can do that very, very well.
Yeah, I remember first 3 days I just spent lying down flat on the floor. I could not move. It was just too hot. And
Uh,
cooking isn't for me either. It's just, if you can't handle the heat, get out the
Get
kitchen.
out
That's
of the kitchen.
exactly what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do.
Totally do it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, going back to it, it's just that really. I
Yeah.
think we just need some sort of an energy, whatever that person is. Could be painting, could be music, could be playing a guitar, could be just going for a run or
Mm,
doing yoga or whatever. You need
yeah.
to have something. That's what I would say,
Yeah.
and just stand up,
Yeah.
stand
And
up.
you're
Yeah.
a big believer in supporting the next generation. Talk to us about how exactly you do that.
I mean, so one of the things which I've been asked to do again is to be the judge for the young chef competition.
Yeah.
I
Amazing.
went there. I went there last year, and it really was to see these kids making some really, really good. Like it was very, very difficult to like, oh, how is this person next to the next person, and it was really, really good competition. I have to say that, and I'm really, really excited about this year. Unfortunately, it's been cancelled, so it's going to happen now in January.
Yeah.
And you know, it's our duty, all the peers or all the chefs we have, or within the same age group. It's our duty to uh, teach these kids, uh, you know, and about cooking, because I remember when I started chefing, and that's why I keep on telling my chefs as well. It's like, I encourage all my chefs at Koya, it's like, come up with new ideas, come up with new ideas. And I always, there's some of them, they come up with some amazing stuff. And some of them, they come up with some amazing stuff, but there's too much going on a plate. Because
Mm,
like me as well, is, less is more. That's what I keep on telling them. And you are a better chef if you have three ingredients on a plate, rather than having 5, 6, 7 different items on a plate. It just bombards. You like the taste, but you just don't know what you're tasting.
What are your three favorite ingredients?
Oh my God, no, it changes all the time. I wouldn't say at the moment is yeast, flour. I'm making a lot of breads these days at home. I'm making every day. There's well, not every day, but every other day I'm making breads. So like,
It's funny
so-
because you say the Coya is completely gluten free. Is that right?
well, I would say about 80% of the items are gluten free,
Yeah.
and we decided, not me, we decided to do this before it became a fashion kind of.
And why did
Because
you decide to do that? It's
because
very
I
interesting.
really, really started seeing a lot of people have been asking for gluten-free items.
Okay.
So then what we decided to do was to change um the soya. So we started using gluten-free soya, and obviously we had to adjust the recipes and everything. And we use, being Peruvian, being a big influence of Japanese food, the soya and just about everything, you
Mm.
know. So that changed. And then uh, there's no bread in our food, you know, so we use tortillas, uh, we use baos. So it was easier for us, to be honest. But like, if you ask me if I was working in any other cuisine, I think that would be very difficult. Like French will be difficult,
Of
but it's
course, yeah.
doable. It will
Yeah,
be
because
doable,
French
of
love
course.
their bread and cheese.
Exactly, yeah. You know,
Yeah,
I'm married to a French, so I
yeah,
know.
yeah. And so, I mean, okay, so let's just rewind a little bit. I kind of jumped the gun with the ingredients in Coya.
Yeah,
So let's talk about 2012 when you started at
yeah.
Coya.
Mm,
How did you meet Arjun Wani, who is
yes,
the owner, for people who don't know, who's the owner of Zuma and Roca?
yeah.
How did you meet him? How did the relationship begin? And take us on that little journey.
Yeah, that's clear as the day. So before I start, like Mr. Wani to me is not my boss. He's more like a father. He is just the most exceptional person I've ever come across. I mean, I can spend hours about him, but I'll be very, very brief. So I got a call. I was about to open a restaurant with Mark Wogan, Mr. Terry Wogan's son, an Indian restaurant actually
Okay.
in Soho. And I went for an opening of a new restaurant called Aurelia, this small Italian restaurant which Mr. Wani had opened in Piccadilly. And I knew the head chef, who was the executive chef for Rocca, called Nick Watts. And I had known him for a while, kind of a thing. And he says, "Listen, I'm thinking of looking for a Peruvian restaurant. Why don't you come and see me?" So I go and see him on this time in 2011, around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and he showed me the plans. And I mean, all I'm thinking at that time is like Mr. Wani, Mr. Wani, Mr. Wani, Mayfair, Mayfair, Mayfair. I said, those are the only two things going in my head.
Yeah.
But the third thing is not going in my head is Peruvian restaurant. So I said to him, dude, I have never cooked Peruvian restaurant. I don't even know what is Peruvian restaurant. I have no idea.
Mm.
So I said, let me think about it. Let me go back. And so it's okay, fine. And then I go back, started doing Wikipedia, looking for Peruvian restaurants. Oh my God, ceviche comes from Peru? I didn't even know that. We used to call it ceviche in those days, you know. And I used to do a ceviche even at Zaika at that time.
Right.
And then I remember the day, 28th of December, 2011. My in-laws were here from France, and I've been cooking all day. And Nick calls me and he says, "Mr. Wani would like to see you in the next 1 hour." And I said, "Okay, no problem." And my wife is saying, "You've been cooking all day. We're just about to eat, and you're going for this interview." I said, "Yeah." And obviously, the French, when the food is not on the table, kind of thing, just like huffing and puffing, and you're opening your own restaurant with Mark, kind of. So I went to see Mr. Wani, and uh, he asked me, "So, tell me about you." I said, "Yes, Mr. Wani, what would you like to know? Tell me about your family." That's the first question he asked me. It's like, and I said, like, I'm married, I'm blessed with twins, and love everything about my life. I told him about a few things about India, blah, blah, and everything. So good. I said, do you want a Michelin star? Now, that like took me by, like really, really, because I wanted to be, because I was going to open a restaurant with Mark anyway. So there's no point going around the bush or anything. And I want to be honest with an elderly person as well. I said, Mr. Wani, there are two things I want. I want a happy team, happy staff, and bums on seat. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
A cracking restaurant. And his answer was, there's something about you I like. I don't know what the F it is. I like you. You will be the head chef of Coya. Don't ask me about money or anything. Ask Nick. Come on, let's order, let's eat. That was my two questions, and I got the job. And afterwards, I asked Mr. Wani why was it that he gave me the job. He said he knew that I knew about spices. He had
Right.
been to Zyka, and he's seen what I was doing, because when Vineet left, kind of, Zyka was for me was there were only 5 spices you will use to a dish. Whether it could be a Rogan Josh, which normally has 10 spices, you only use 5 spices, and that is one of the reasons I got the job. And I asked Mr. Wani while we were having lunch, I was like, is it okay for me to go to Peru, and I would like to have my own kitchen, blah blah, and everything. And he says, of course, just go whenever you want.
This sounds like a dream.
Oh my God! So
I don't think it ever comes this easy to anyone.
No. I mean, 28th of December, I see him. On the 5th of January, I'm flying to Peru.
Wow.
So I'm flying to Peru. So we go to Miami. I mean, this is another interesting story. And this is how I think the gods were looking after me at that time, because so I go with another 4 of us, Nick being one of them, and the general manager and a couple of other people. James, who was a bartender looking after bar for Zuma at that time. And I got upgraded to go from London to Peru, which has never happened to me. Only me, not these guys, only me. It's like, oh my God. So I'm having champagne and everything, and go to Peru. I mean, we go to Miami, absolutely disappointed with the Peruvian food. There was nothing there.
Okay.
Then when I went to Peru, we landed at 2:00 in the morning. Don't ask me why 2:00 in the morning. And I asked the guy, take me now to the fish market and the veg market. I don't want to go to the hotel. And everybody's looking at me like, I don't want to see.
Yeah.
So I went to the fish market, looked at the vegetables, and I said, my God, there's so much we can do. And that was it. So I came back after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I was in Peru. I ate. So in 3 weeks, you can have 21 lunches, 21 dinners, 42 meals. We must have had about 60. We went to 60, 70 different restaurants. We just ate.
That sounds like my dream holiday.
No, but I tell you what, towards the end, all I wanted was a burger and a pizza. Promise you that.
Your omelette, your special omelette. You just wanted to eat yourself.
I'm going to read that for you one day, actually. So, and then I came back, and I had Mr. Wani knew one of his friends who had a restaurant in Islington. He had closed it down, so I went there. I was the only chef, the only person who was on the employed by Coya at that time. And I cleaned the kitchen for like 3 days. It was really, really bad. I was loving it. I was really, really loving it. Like, this is
your playground, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, playground. And then that's where the journey started. And I said, I will not do ceviche first, because that's got to be, it has to be the best ceviches in Europe. That was my take on it. We will do the best ceviches. We will open the best Peruvian restaurant in Europe.
And you were calling it ceviche at the time?
Yeah, ceviche at the time as well. Yeah. And then that's where the journey started. And I changed the menu 24 times.
Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, why did it take you so long?
Because it was like opening a book,
right?
Writing a new book, with all these chapters. And And as I grew confident, and I did a tasting for Mr. Wani and all the other shareholders. There was like about 25 of them after 2 months. And I knew I was not ready for it. And I told Mr. Wani, I'm not ready for it. I said, I want to see what you've been doing, blah, blah, and everything.
Mm.
And he was impressed. And, you know, Mr. Wani doesn't mince his words. He says how it is. And he said, like, there's a lot to be done. I said, oh, I told you, I've got a lot to do and everything.
Yeah.
And then in June, I get a phone call from him because Mr. Wani lives, for the summer, he goes to the south of France and he says, come over and I want to see you, come for a day. I want to talk to you about the menu.
Mm.
I mean, not many times I get a phone call and say, go to Nice or go to Cap de Ferrat and discuss the
We'll
menu.
upgrade you.
Yeah. So I went there, and then Mr. Wani asked me, what is going to be your average spend? What is it that you're looking for? And he asked me all these questions, which was like, nobody's asked me these questions before ever in my life.
Mm.
Because apart from being that's why he's such a great businessman, apart from being an amazing human being, because he knows what people want. And that's exactly what we need to give. And that's been my DNA is, it's not what I want to cook, it's what you want to eat, you know. And that's how even at Zyka, I used to always think that way, you know. It's not what I think, it's
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I mean, Coya is successful in many locations around the world: London, Dubai, Miami, Paris. How do you adapt your menu to suit the different locations? Because you do have to do that a little bit.
Of course, do that. So what we have is like 70% of the menu is the same at all Koyas. 30% of the menu depends on the culture, depends on the chef, depends on what the people want over there. So let's give, for an example, people hate coriander in Europe. They hate it. But in Dubai, they love it. So all my ceviches don't have any fresh coriander. A little example, though in Dubai, you do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it also depends on what grows, what is the seasonality. So like, say, for example, the latest opening we had was in Mykonos. And so one of the things which we were cooking over there was we were doing orzo pasta. But you know, one of the things which I don't know whether you had the cazuela at Coya or not, the sea bass cazuela.
I think I did actually.
Yeah.
Sea bass, yeah.
So we do the same thing, but instead of using the rice, we use the orzo pasta and we serve it with lobster.
Right.
One of the tacos which we do is we do it with smoked aubergines because people love babagunus. It's kind of a thing, you know, it's very, very Greek, kind of. So we do it with smoked aubergines. And one of the chilies which we use is ají limo, which is quite spicy. So we take the ají limo and we mix it with feta cheese. And then we dry it in the oven. So it becomes very crumbly. So it's a very smoky, crumbly feta cheese, which is spiced up. But it's just at the hint, you know, so, and we use that in a taco. Right. So you feel like you're having a bit of a grease in bigger Mykonos, in Coya Mykonos. Because, and the reason we keep the menu the same is also, is like, if I take things out, people will stop coming, because a lot of people come, they love trying the new things, but they will always go with the sea bass ceviche or the tuna ceviche or the sea bass cazuela or the spicy beef. Right. And then we encourage all the regional chefs and the head chefs to come up with new ideas as well.
Right. And I think Peruvian cuisine, I mean, it's become so popular over the years. And I think because of its influences in diverse cuisines, you've got Japanese, Chinese, Spanish. And for me, you're the guy that's really popularized Peruvian cuisine. But in your opinion, why do you think it's become so popular?
Okay. First of all, I think it's become popular. It's for the simple fact because people wanted something new. People have had a lot of Japanese, people have a lot of Italian, and people are always looking for new things.
And you saw a gap in the market?
Exactly. And that was Mr. Wani who saw the gap in the market. Right. We went to Peru. There was also a trip. We would think of doing an Argentinian restaurant. Though once going to Peru, my mind was set, this is what we need to do.
Mm.
We Because this is, nobody has seen any of this, because it's not just Japanese, like you said yourself, or it's just Chinese, and they're the best around the world. That's where the most eaten food would be Japanese. I would have thought more will be Chinese. It's more ethnic, apart from where you are from,
Yeah.
and hence the reason it just became so popular. And it's fresh. It's like, I say ceviche is the new sushi.
Mm.
There's no soya, there's
Mm.
no wasabi. All we do is substitute it with chilies, different type of chilies, different hint of chilies, and some lime juice, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like, I mean, again, I love Japanese food, but when you're having sushi, it's just one wavelength. You
Yeah.
don't take it different. You just have a bit of good fish with
Yeah.
a bit of this. But when you're having a ceviche, it's like, oh wow. So we're doing ceviche with truffles. We're doing ceviche with celery. We're doing ceviche at the moment with, like for the festive season. We're doing it with the chicha morada, which is like a Peruvian corn, which is like purple in color. So we're using that influence, and
Mhm.
giving people, it's like, oh wow, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Giving them something a little bit different and exciting.
And
And
then
so,
yeah, and
sorry, go
no,
on.
please, no, please.
So your role now at Coya, is it more about growing the business, or do you still have a very active role in with cooking in the kitchens? I mean,
No.
obviously
I mean,
pre-COVID.
I'm more like ambassador for Coya. Um, I am not involved in day-to-day running of the kitchen
Hmm.
at all. We got all these amazing bunch of chefs who do an exceptional job.
Yeah.
And my job really, really now is, again, I'm the spokesperson for Koya. You asked me about anything, but I started Koya back in 2012 or 2011. Um, so I know everything inside and out of Koya.
Yeah.
It's my third baby. I spend more time with that baby than I spend more time with my twins. Um,
And are
and
you a are you a business partner? Do you have shares in the business?
yes, so I have shares in London,
Uh-huh.
for both units. Uh, I was given the opportunity to get shares for the other ones, but I declined at that time. And it's my baby, really.
Well, it's
I'm
great.
it's
It's
like,
a beautiful baby to have.
I'm very proud of it as well. We just refurbished Koya Mayfair, and to see the transformation of, like, I was there like 8 years ago, building all these walls and everything, or seeing these walls being built, and I look
Yeah.
at it now. It's like, who would have thought? I would have never thought that we will have 8 Koyas around the world in the span of like 9 years,
Well, it's
and
phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal journey for you. I mean,
oh
you
yes,
started off as a chef, and now you're
yes,
creating your own restaurants.
yes.
You're
Well, it's for me.
constructing them.
I think, like anything, you just have, like, I got a great team. We have a great team.
Mm.
They just make me look good now. That's what it is. And
You empower them to empower you.
yeah, absolutely, well said, well said. I walk in there, and it's in any Koyas, and this, if anything, I know I was saying in the beginning of our interview, like, it's been good not to travel, but it's like I'm missing it. I really want to, like, now we're opening Doha, so I can't wait to go over there next year.
Yeah.
So, and I've not been to Dubai this year at all because of the lockdown and everything. And normally I make like 2-3 trips a year, and this year I've not been at all.
Yeah.
So,
So what's
so
next for you? I mean, apart from opening restaurants, I mean, what else are you up to?
well, I mean, this year has been a bit of a quiet one, really, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Um, even though the fact that I still have contact with all the team members, and we speak virtually. We've done a lot of trainings in the lockdown period as well, and because, as training, the more knowledge you have, the better you can be for the clients.
Yeah.
So we've been working a lot on that as well. And next is, like, now we open Doha next year. So that's going to be a nice one. We're opening at a W hotel, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's exciting.
Um, and then there are talks at the moment. Like, obviously, we have not signed anything or anything, so we are looking in Europe, Italy. We're looking in a couple of other places as well. So yeah, that's going to keep us busy as well.
Yeah.
Um, and also, like, I go to Coya now, and I like talking to people, and it's just, I just will speak to a manager, I'll speak to a chef de partie, I'll speak to a runner, and
Mm.
find out what's happening in their life, kind of a thing, and motivate them in the best way possible, and crack some jokes together and have a gas, and
Wonderful.
talk about menu ideas or what we can do, what we can't do, and let's see. Let's work on this thing. So the guys are working on. They always, like, now we're doing a pop up in Stad, but unfortunately because of the lockdown and everything is just gone
Everything's
completely
just
wrong.
changed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just changing all the time. So
Yeah.
it's more so what we can do is it's more about adapting, really.
Okay.
To and like I was saying to the guys on the last day when just before the lockdown, and we have a briefing every day at 5:30. Who's coming into the which customers are coming in, and VIPs or allergies, and I said, like, at the end of the day, my friends, this is going to be the last service you are going to do. Looks like this year, so give it the best ones you can. You know, make sure that do the extra bit for that client today. You
Yeah.
know, do
Yeah.
that bit extra bit for your colleague. How you can help him or her, and once you have that thought process going in, and when you have that belief, and then everybody follows that naturally as well, and that's what yeah, it's I take back, it's like it's disheartening to see, like, oh my god, like, there's so much, because Korea is full of energy. The moment you walk in, like the colors, and it's never a dull moment.
Never.
The music is blaring, and the
Yeah.
drinks have been poured somewhere and everything. So, like, like we say, like, we're a brand restaurant. We just not about food. It's everything.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
music. Stefan, who looks after our music for all Koyas, they're just launching a new label, and it's in Spotify, and like we can't wait for the chef, for the DJs to come up with their own music, and
Oh, that's great.
we are all grown together. That's the beauty of it. Like, they're based in Dubai and I'm based over here, or like, we all never knew, like, opening Koya in Dubai, was that 2012? No, 2015. 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Like, my God, look at this place. It's like, still, we are doing it, and and you just have to work harder. You have to be humble, and you need to adapt. It's not about, no, this is what I want. No, it's about what you want, what all
Mm.
the others want, and
Mm.
just, it's easy. Like I said that in the briefing again. We have the best jobs in the world. We look after people. That's all we do. We're not bankers. We're not doctors. We're not surgeons. We're not teachers. We just look after people. So, um, I know there's a lot of animosities because of the tensions and everything, and we try not to do that at Korea. Of course, it happens all the time, and not all the time, but like, it happens. But the world has changed since I started chefing to where it's right now. It's much more calmer. Like, everybody has the 2 days off, sometimes 3 days off.
Mm-hmm.
In my time, it's like, no, you work 6 days, you work 7 days,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
work 15
You don't
hours.
sleep.
If you did something, you were a wuss.
Yeah.
And now, and so much better, because at the end of the day, when you're working 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
you are much more fresh, you're cooking better, you're
Yeah.
serving better, you're just in the right mental state of mind
But for
as well.
you, having been through your history, having been through what you went through, you're probably in a position now to know how to look after your staff better,
Yes.
because you don't want to treat them the way
No,
you were treated, which
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
you know exactly what it takes to make a great working environment.
Oh, I mean, like I said, like one of the reasons, like, Mr. Wani gave me the job, for me, it was about the happy staff. That was the main thing, and it still is.
Mm,
But and it's not because it's the right thing to do.
mm,
It's because it's just that's the way I am. I just want everybody around me to be happy. And
yeah.
then uh, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and Yeah, I mean, I remember going back, me doing the pass at the kitchen in when we first opened Coya, the amount of pressure and the amount of how I dealt with that is I laugh at myself. It's like, was that really me?
Yeah.
Like shouting and swearing and those old demons coming along and everything. And then as time went by, I started saying that, shouting doesn't get you anywhere. There's no point demeaning a person or anything. Just be kind to the person, speak to the person,
Mm.
speak to them after service, bring them on the side. We started with 21 chefs. I still remember that. And those 21, and when you open a restaurant, people leave like this. And, they stuck with me for a long, long time. And
Yeah.
a couple of them are still there.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got one last question for you,
Please. Yeah.
Sanjay. It's my signature question. Tell me something about yourself that I couldn't possibly know. Something
Oh my,
personal. We've talked a lot about work.
yeah. Personal. My wife asked me out for 9 months. She was the
9 months?
month. She
She
was
was
the,
it, as in she asked you many times?
many times. Yeah, let's go out. Let's go out. Um, and she was the head waiter at Zyka. I was the head chef or the chef patron at that time at Zyka. And I thought I should not mix together. And I remember meeting her up in Clapham after 9 months. I said, I gave in. I said, okay, all right, okay. Tomorrow we are
You
going to,
gave in.
yeah, I gave it. No, but seriously,
Okay.
we went to the Sun Pub in Clapham. Uh, I love to talk, as you can see, probably
Yeah.
everybody knows. And that was the first time where I was gobsmacked. I was blown away at what things she had to say to me. Um,
She said that she really didn't like your cooking, really.
no, no. She was telling, yeah, she was telling me like, because I've been to LA. I was working as a consultant there for 3 months. I came back from LA. I was all tanned up and everything. And she said, "Who the hell is this guy? I want to know this guy, blah, 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 and everything." And I was very loud and everything. And especially, she's never seen an Indian person who's very loud and very confident and talks a lot. And, so yeah. And then we went out. Uh, and she made breakfast the next morning. She went to the, I think it was to Sainsbury's where I was living. I came downstairs, there was champagne, there was croissant, and
Wow.
she had made homemade croque madame.
Oh my gosh.
And this is like the proper croque madame with the bechamel, the whole thing. And, and I'm
So
eating.
she's outdoing you. She's outdoing the chef.
I was like, this one is a keeper. So we 17 years
She
together.
swept you off your feet. That's
But I was
wonderful.
like, oh, really was. And like,
Wow.
yeah, we've been 18 years together, and I'm a very lucky man.
That's a
Yeah, we have our moments, of
beautiful.
course, like any married couples and everything. But yeah, I'm a very lucky man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And she's a great mom. She's a great mom, and yeah, so
Well,
she keeps all the boys together. That's for sure.
yeah. Well,
How much
it
is that
can't be
story? 30
easy.
months. Yeah, and actually, what, because I know you had this answer, it just was impulsive. I'm sure there must be other stories, but that was the first one that came up to me.
Well, it's
Um,
the one that's most important to you. So thank you so much for sharing it. I loved hearing about that.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for your time, Sanjay.
pleasure.
It's been great and insightful chatting to you.
Likewise.
Guys,
Yeah, thank you.
you can follow Sanjay on Instagram at sanjay.coya, and
Correct. Yeah.
I'm at poshnoshgal. And if you enjoyed this interview, please share it with your friends, comment, rate, or review. Thank you so much.